here we are, game 21, a quarter of the way through the season, and this offense is playing pretty seamlessly right now. One reason for that, obviously, is Karl-Anthony Towns, James, and it seems to me like he should get credit for the way that he's fit in here, too, in the same way I just talked about Brunson. We saw the move last night on Mo Wagner. Mo Wagner kind of stood him up in the post. He looked at the ref, and then he hits that fall-away jump shot on the baseline. Seems like he was just having fun out there. What do you think, James, about how Towns has fit in so far?
Yeah, I think it's a good topic to bring up, because I think one thing he doesn't get credit for is his ability to adapt to different situations. And it goes all the way back to Minnesota, right? Like we saw the last kind of 2 years, Anthony Edwards pushing to the forefront of that organization, and Cat seriously taking a step back and allowing Anthony to blossom and allowing him allowing that development to carry that Timberwolves team to different heights. Now you get to a situation in New York where they have a lot of good pieces, but they have a lot of injuries in the front court. What do they need? They need rebounding. And after 2 years of not averaging over 10 rebounds a game, and obviously part of that is playing with Rudy Gobert, Cat gets back to a level of rebounding where I think he's close to 13 a game, if not over, something he hasn't done in a few seasons since he last, I think, was with Tom Thibodeau. So you see him adapting there and hitting the glass and being one of the best contested rebounders in the league. And his shot attempts are down, but that's obviously comes with playing with the type of players he plays with. But he's still as efficient as he's been. And you watch him, and it's like this is legitimately one of the best shooting big men to ever play the game. His passing has really shown great flashes at points in the season. Just very selfless player, and willing to do the dirty work. I remember I used to cover when Blake Griffin got traded to the Pistons. You always kind of had this vision of Blake as like this Hollywood guy and this and that, right? But he's very much a very blue-collared player. And you forget he's from Oklahoma, and then you see him, and it's like, oh, he fits in the Pistons like mold of players that they tend to gravitate toward. I think Cat's in the same boat, and I think it's really shown just with how aggressive he's been willing to get on the glass and how much he takes pride in that too. Like I think the New York radiates out of him, even though he's more of a finesse player.
It's funny. I think narratives kind of, once they get attached to you, they hang around, and maybe sometimes they hang around you unfairly or too long because, there was the criticism with Jimmy Butler with Minnesota. He felt that, Karl-Anthony Towns wasn't, I guess, his kind of player from an intensity standpoint. And I think that kind of made its way around the league. But Pat, to me, I haven't seen an instance or many instances at all where you look at Karl and you say, wow, he should have given you more on that play, or, he could have been more physical on that play. If it's happened, I haven't seen it much yet at all. What have you seen?
I agree with that. It's almost as if, and how could he not be aware of it? But it seems to me, watching him night in and night out, that he's aware that has been the narrative. And look, this isn't the team, and this isn't the head coach to come in and play for and play with if that's the narrative surrounding you. So what I've seen from Karl-Anthony Towns is, yes, he's still shooting 45% from downtown, but he's not hanging out on the perimeter behind the three-point arc, just waiting for an open look to chuck it up. Every few possessions, if he has not already gone inside, he makes an effort to go inside and to be physical. The rebounding numbers speak for itself as really, the lone 7-footer on this team right now until Mitchell Robinson comes back. He knows that the boards are his. I mean, the Knicks have a 6'4" guy who's averaging over 8 rebounds per game as their second leading rebounder. So he knows the importance of that role on this team. But what I've seen is a conscious effort on the part of Karl-Anthony Towns to be as physical as possible. Now, does it always work out? No. Sometimes he goes in there, he doesn't look overly comfortable. Sometimes he forces the issue, trying to take it to the basket inside the paint. But what I like overall is the mindset and the commitment to be physical in that position on this team.
And one thing that I heard that I thought was interesting earlier in the year was Tom Thibodeau having no problem coaching Karl-Anthony Towns hard, talking to him and directing him in ways that maybe you didn't hear Thibodeau doing the same with Julius Randle. And I think over the course of Randle's tenure here in New York, I think that caused some issues in the locker room where some players felt like Julius Randle was held to one standard and others were held to a different standard. Sometimes that's just the nature of the NBA, but when a team is is struggling. Go back to Thibodeau's second season as the Knicks were struggling. Those things come to the surface. I just thought it was interesting that you haven't heard that with Thibodeau and Karl Towns, at least earlier in the year, where he was coaching him the way he would coach everybody else. To me, that's a sign of a healthy locker room